In a recent article, you wrote about how the physical infrastructure in India seems to be changing at a faster pace than ever, and that, in fact, the government would claim is one of their big achievements, because unlike China, India never really spent quite as much in physical infrastructure. And you came back after quite some time, and what did you make of the kind of changes that you're seeing?
I think the infrastructure story is remarkable, and I do think this government deserves a lot of credit for it. It's not, by the way, rather that I came back after a long time. I come to India several times a year. But at some point you began to realize there was a kind of critical mass that had passed. You know, that there were plans to build a second sea link in Bombay. There were plans, but suddenly you started to see everything happening. And to be fair, a lot of it is state governments. But the key enabling factors have been two things. One, India finally has the money to spend on infrastructure. Again, this was a cumulative effect. Before that, you really didn't have the ability to spend on the scale you needed to. And the second is the competence of the execution of the Modi government, which I give it credit for. Though, as I say, a lot of state governments have stepped in as well. So the whole picture it looks very different than it did before. You can even just see it when I used to go to China. I was always struck by, if you looked out of your window, you would just be able to count construction cranes, and you'd see 20, 25, 30. And you'd go to Bombay and you'd see 5. Now you're beginning to have that same feeling. When you're in the Bandra Kurla area in Bombay, you just see a sea of construction cranes. When you go to Bangalore, you see, huge new projects, unfortunately not helping the road traffic in Bangalore, but a lot of buildings being built. So there's a lot of energy behind that, and I think that you're going to probably see the benefits of it in 5 years. I particularly look at my hometown, Mumbai, and between the subway system that's being built, between the road that's going to hug the coast, between the second sea link, I think you will see a almost transformed Bombay, where the links between the various centers of the city have finally happened. And that could be really a game changer.
Diplomacy, in part, is institutional between India and the United States, and especially under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, it's also been very personal. And Prime Minister Modi and former President Donald Trump shared a very effusive personal relationship. What's your reading of the current chemistry and the dynamic between Prime Minister Modi and President Biden?
I think that Modi is very good at establishing personal relationships with leaders whom he needs to do business with. I don't think it was actually that personal between him and Trump. I doubt very much that he had any great, particularly warm feelings toward Trump. If you recall, he was very good with Obama as well, and gave Obama a grand visit to India. I talked to Obama after it, and he felt that he had established a really very strong personal relationship. Biden knows Modi, and Modi knows Biden, so I suspect it'll be quite good as well. But I think that's one of Modi's skills. He's good at building that personal relationship. Part of what what he has is people see how popular he is in India. That adds a certain kind of political power. Particularly among Democratic politicians. A fellow Democratic politician is always impressed by someone like Modi, who can, bring these kind of crowds together in the U.S. and in Australia recently. Trump found that, fascinating. Biden will find that fascinating, and Modi's smart. He uses that to his advantage.